Hello students, in today's lecture we'll see what is organizational resistance. Yesterday we saw the causes of resistance. Now today organizational resistance. That means why there is opposition or why the change is being negatively viewed and why people oppose the change at organizational level, that we are going to see. The first point is limited focus on of change. There are so many subsystems within an organization, and if one subsystem is changed, or if some change is introduced in one subsystem, there are chances that that change on one subsystem may affect other subsystems as well, and therefore it is being opposed by people, because as I said that people don't like changes and they negatively view the changes. So that is limited focus of change. Next is group inertia. In group inertia, it means that if even if individuals are ready to accept the change, sometimes the group people, that means those informal groups or formal group people, group members which we call them as, they act as a constraint. That means the entire group stand united for resistance. They resist the change and they oppose it. So unitedly, unitedly we stand, this is the phrase. And therefore they think that if we come together as a group, and if we group resist the change, and if we raise voice against the management that this change should not be introduced, then it would work. Yes, this is called as group effect or group inertia. Okay, so here it might happen that in a group your individuals are ready to accept the change, but your group people are not allowing you to accept the change. They are convincing you as an individual to oppose the change and come in their group, because as I said, united we stand. If you unitedly fight against something, the chances of winning are much more. Therefore these people, they resist the change in group form, instead of individual. Then next is threat to expertise. It may happen that whenever a change is being introduced in the organization, it may threaten the expertise of specialized group. The group, informal group or formal group, which was having much more importance and its dominance in the organization or in the management, it may be reduced because of any new change in the organization. So that is the threat they feel, that of our importance may get declined, may get reduced. People will give you a secondary importance, which they can't tolerate it. Okay, so that is the fear which they have, therefore they oppose the change. Next is threat to established power relationships, especially when there is redistribution of decision making authority. It threatens the established power relationship. For example, if any democratic kind of decision making method is being used, or participative decision making method is used, the supervisors or the top authorities, they feel threatened that their importance will be reduced and their decision making authority is being distributed among the subordinates, right? So subordinates will also be involved in decision making process. So this is what which they cannot tolerate, because their mindset may be different. Up till now they were the only whole and sole decision making authority, so now they can't digest this change. Then next is threat to established resource allocation. So certain groups in organization have good control on large amount of resources, maybe they're financial or physical or human resources. And of course, when you are having certain dominance in certain field, you like to continue with that dominance, you are having that power. So these people wish to continue with that position, and whenever certain change is being introduced in the organization, they feel that this power may be reduced, or that would be threatening, the change would be threatening to the resource availability. So these are the organizational resistance. Then we are going to see what are the remedies to overcome the resistance to change. Up till now we saw what are the causes of resistance. Now we are going to see what is the solution, how you can reduce the opposition of your employees, reduce the resistance to change, and how you can convince your people to accept the change. The first point over here is recognize the social and psychological factors in change. Okay, so now when a change is being introduced, each employee will accept or will react to that change in his own way. That means he is having his personal opinion about that change, and employee's attitude to produce the response is uh, is through his feelings about the change and the environment. Okay, so each change is being looked or interpreted by individual according to the personal attitude about it. The way the person feels about a change will determine the response to it, and these attitudes usually depend upon past experiences. If you are having very bad past experience, then definitely in present tense also you will have that fear in your mind that past experience was a very bitter one, so I may have to face the same situation again, and therefore that may be the psychological reason for resisting the change. Okay, now if you want your employees to accept the change, what the management has to do is to convince the workers in such a way that you have to convince your workers that the change is desirable, it is inevitable, and it is it is being introduced rightly in the organization, and workers should accept the change. That is the only thing which they can do. So convincing is very positive approach towards, or a positive remedy to overcome this resistance. So you have to deal your employees in a very tactful manner, and try to convince them that why this change is being introduced and why it is necessary for the development of the organization, and how it is going to benefit you as an individual as well. So this is the way, this is the skill of the management to to convince the workers. Okay, then participation of employees. Whenever any change is being introduced, the management has to participate, the employees, or the representatives of the employees within in the decision making process, so that it becomes easy for the employees to digest the change. Otherwise, what happened, the management, if they are taking the decision wholly and solely without concern of your employees or without their participation, then what will happen, all of a sudden and these employees will come to know that this particular change is being introduced. So that would be a big shock for your employees, and it would be difficult to bring your employees to normal, and the desired reaction of these employees would be negative one. They'll resist the change because they'll say that we were not being no, we were not knowing about what kind of change they were talking about, and they are going to introduce to us. So we had no idea about it. So it's better to go for participating employees before you take a decision to make any certain kind of change in your organization. Then next is authority of trust. You as a management should build good trust, that your workers should feel that management is quite trustworthy. Whatever change decision of implementing change is being taken by management, is it is the right decision, and it is beneficial for the organization and as an individual as well. So this kind of authority of trust has to be developed, and it cannot be delegated. It should be earned by each manager. Okay, and generally what happens, the newcomers or the new managers, new boss, it is difficult for him to gain that trust. It takes a period of over a period of time you can acquire that trust from people on basis of your behavior, on basis of the way you treat people, on basis of your decision making, on all these factors your trust depends on. Right, so it takes time to build that trust. So it should be earned by each and every manager, so that it would be easy for that manager to introduce the change. Okay, then next one we are going to see Levin's force field analysis. Levin was a great social psychologist, Kurt Levin, and he suggested that whenever a change is being resisted, the factor that are operating factors means those supporting forces or driving forces, and another forces, that is resisting forces. That change should be analyzed, and after chalking out or after listing of both types of factors, that is resisting factors and driving factors, according to Levin, the next step is to analyze the comparative strength of these factors, and he has identified two ways to gain that acceptance. The first way was to increase the pressure for change. That means you have to force your employees to accept the change. This pressure can overpower the resistance, and resistance may be pushed down. So you have to pressurize your workers to accept the change. And the danger with this way is that resisting factors are not eliminated. They can build up enough pressure and rebound very much like a coiled spring. It may come up. That means people, if they are pressurized much more like a spring, they can bounce, they can come up with more resistance also. So that is the one of the danger if you pressurize people. The another way which is being told by Levin is that second way is reasonable and it eliminates many of the resisting factors. So process of second way is to process of understanding the situation and uh, what to say, you have to understand why people are resisting the change, what are the reasons behind it, and work upon those reasons. This is the second way. So second way is much more reasonable than the first one. Instead of pressurizing your employees, you can just find out the reasons why these employees are resisting the change. And the last point is make only necessary changes. So change should not be introduced only to introduce or make certain for sake of variety. It should not be introduced. If it is necessary, then only you have to introduce it, because when a change is introduced, you are paying a huge price for every change. People are confused about the change. You have to undertake the training programs for learning that change. So much of time, money you're investing whenever you're introducing a change. And therefore you have to ensure that changes are reasonable and necessary, and it is not, it's always progressive for your organization. So it should not be unnecessary brought just to bring it. Okay, so these are the remedies how you can overcome the change. So with this I end with today's lecture. Thank you.